What is it that you trying to talk about?
What Steven Jackson was saying about Gilbert Arenas.
Well, play the clip.
Play
Play the clip real quick.
Smoke in LA doing some epic shit, right? And I'm tired of seeing this shit on Instagram coming from basketball players, and that's why a lot of y'all losers. It's no way. If you ain't come from nothing, then you understand why people say they would rather 50 million and a championship. Because I care about being the best at what the gift God gave me. It would suck to play the game of basketball and never say you was the champion. You was never the best in the world. 50 million is enough for people who come from nothing. We know how to make that work. That 50 million is like 200 million to us. But it goes to show the people who struggled and the people who didn't struggle. Talking about, I'll take 100 million and fuck the championship. Nah, I'll take 50 million and that championship. But you're not a winner. You don't want to be the best. You just want to maintain them and just go along. Nah, that's the difference between a lot of the champions and y'all. Yeah, y'all made y'all money, but y'all wasn't the best at nothing.
I go real quick. I hated that they had that discussion. To me, you're in the lose-lose. However you answer that question, and the thing that's what we talked about earlier with Gilbert and them. Stop having these loaded questions that's going to jam people up. I hated that question. I just really did, and to me, there's no right way to answer that. Yeah, you're gonna expect young people that today. Remember, I'm older, so the mindset is different. So to ask a person that's probably 30 years old or younger, what would you rather have, 200 million or championship ring? What you expect them to say? So I didn't like that topic. I like how Steven Jackson reacted. Sometimes I just don't like. I just don't like it. It just comes up sometimes too tough. None of us gonna fight. None of us gonna hurt each other. So let's calm down with the aggression. But I don't mind his response. But I hated the question. I hated the question. And Gilbert, I hated it. I hated it. I'm being honest.
Steven Jackson Muslim? The fuck happened to that? Like, why he be like? Wasn't he a Muslim?
He's also checking in Chicago.
That's why I love Flea. He just was like, hold up, wasn't he Aki and all? I remember you right because he was wearing the robes, the Chanel and the Gucci.
What happened?
I ain't seen one of those in a minute.
Assalamu alaikum. Like, what happened? Like, dude be just like flip flopping and flim flap. Listen, that's
hey Flea. What he said?
Red
fish. Hold on, red fish, blue fish. Like, he said red light, green light. He said the smart, my bacon is fine.
Oh, you a Muslim now? No more dope games. Listen, man, I don't mind that. I don't mind everyone just speaking their opinion on this because you saw it was 3 or 4 different basketball players, people that actually played in the NBA, Mel, that were talking about this, and they chose this. Like Steven Jackson saying apparently that he turned down money to stay in San Antonio. I think Gilbert Arenas clearly. Again, he's a silly, kind of goofy dude. I don't expect him to take this seriously. You know what I'm saying? I think it was Nico Grimes, the one that was like arguing about it, and I think it speaks to just sacrificing in general. Like we all know about sacrifice, trying to put these things together, trying to put anything about winning together. You got to sacrifice. So I don't mind Steven Jackson saying what he's saying. I understand what you're saying with the tone Allball. I think he's kind of crazy with the that was kind of crazy. And Steven Jackson, he does flip flop like that. But look at Tom Brady, how much money Tom Brady turned down to remain a starting quarterback, and got his offensive lineman paid. That's what you have to do to win in the NFL, and he knows that. He knows that I got to go win, get 7 rings. I got to do certain things. Same thing in the NBA. If you turn down money, well, say what you want. LeBron turned down money to go to the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade was just talking about I ain't getting that 20 million back for allowing for getting LeBron to come on this team. So he sacrificed money to win and have a legacy like that. So yeah, you got to sacrifice to win, bro. I think there is something to that. Like even if you are 20 years old, it's harder for you to understand that. But going back to Giannis paying $50,000 to try to get better, I ain't mad at that.
I think it's all relative, man. It's all relative because there's so many guys that don't get the opportunity to sign max contracts. There's so many guys that don't even have the ability to make the money that a LeBron, Steph, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Tatum, Ja Morant. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about max level guys.
Right.
There's more of guys that are making the average, which is now I think between $9 and $10 million a year. There's more guys making that than there is the guys that's making 40, 50, 60 million dollars a year. So if a guy makes generational changing money for his family and is able to win a championship ring, I think that's win-win. When you get drafted and are able to solidify a spot on an NBA team, when you're able to sign that contract, shout out to Jared Vanderbilt, signed a 4-year deal worth $48 million, right? Patrick Beverley shot him a text and told him like, yo, Vando, don't sign that extension. And he was explaining to him why he shouldn't sign it and what he thought. And, you know, Vanderbilt wound up signing the extension anyway, but thanked Pat Beverley for the advice and shit like that. But it's hard to turn down $50 million. That's going to change you, your family, your children, your children's children. That's changing their life. And you might get an opportunity to win a ring. So, you know what I'm saying? That $100 million, the best of the best make that, right? The best of the best make that. If you can make money and wind up in a great winning situation, I don't see how that's so bad.
Dom, I don't know if you guys hear what we got to say, but want to chime in? Would you to sacrifice the money to win championships?
I mean, from my lens, yes, but it's hard for me to say. You know, I mean, everybody comes from a different background, a different lens. That 100 million might be the difference between getting, you know, maybe your grandparents in the house or something like that. I don't know. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It really all depends on the lens and I think each individual case is different. But you know, at the same time, it's like we're talking about 50 million. That sounds like a lot to me. So sounds with a championship, that sounds great, but I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard for me to say. I don't like speaking too much on like people's money and stuff.
Personally. I think Allball's right though. Like he said, you come from where we come from. It doesn't mean you struggle. Yo, bro, Grant Hill didn't come from no struggle, and I felt like he was a championship style like caliber character. He didn't come from none of that.
Nah,
like get out of here.
It's very affluent family. Like they didn't struggle.
Pops play football and all that. Come on, man. Like, so you know, I think that's what I think we like. Don't you already right? Don't make it wrong, Steven Jackson. I think that's what Allball's saying. Like, nah, just speak your point. We ain't got to sound all put the weed down.
Nah, but Gil's another one of those that grew up in the valley. He grew up well. He didn't grow up struggling from what I've heard about Gilbert Arenas's upbringing. You know, his dad presented a really nice life for him growing up.
But Fleet, you know what else too? Before we get out of here, just a quick point. I could be wrong. See, Gilbert is slick. That's another jab at the OGs, because you know they put a lot of emphasis and a lot of respect on having championships. Mm-hmm. So here go another shot at basically saying championships don't mean shit. Mm-hmm. Like that's what Gilbert is really saying. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
if you really like,
The Valley is part of LA County, just for the comments.
You know, yeah. So Gilbert is once again playing a game he's playing indirectly, throwing a shot, because he knows a lot of the OGs. That's all they have right now for them to be considered. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you know that's another reason. Another little example that he's trying to, man, I'm kind of over Gilbert, man. I like Gilbert, but Gilbert's starting to get on my nerves, being honest.
He's been getting on my nerves when he said that thing about Pippen and Rodman.
Yeah,
he's lying like that.
He makes great points. He does make great points. He's the one that was, like, he flip-flops.
I need you to send me his great points.
The great points he made when he's talking about how he led the league. He was, you know, when he talks about himself, he's pretty good. When he talked about the training,
when he talks about capping and about beating John Stockton and he whooped him. Yeah, he got fouled out of the game. Coach Millian posted the highlights of it.
That was hilarious. When he talks about like the conditioning of this era versus the previous era, he's like, bro, I used to run up and down the stadium. You guys don't do that. You guys run from 3-point line to 3-point line. There's no way you guys are in the same shape as anybody from the past. No way.
Really? He said that?
I'm
surprised he said that.
I would much more appreciate Gil talking about the grind, talking about the mistakes he made by being an asshole, dropping
Agreed.
to the second round. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to be a lottery pick. He dropped all the way out of the first round into the second round. Then didn't start, had to grind his way into a starting position, won most improved player of the year, then was able to get a bag from Washington. Like, talk more about that.
Yeah,
Because
I
that
think
would be beneficial for the young guys.
they do that but he'll have like Richard Jefferson on, and Richard Jefferson starts smoking him. Like, bro, you were supposed to be the number one guy, and he broke all of that down, and he'll have it on his show. He also broke down like there's a contract, there's a new rule for the contracts in place because of him.
Yeah.
So he does talk about, and he also talks about being suicidal. When he had all the money in the world, he was sitting at home, and what it could do for you was just like, bro, I was at home, I was bored. Like, these things, he does talk a lot. I think what gets the most traction is when he goes crazy like this, though. That's the thing with Gilbert. Just the same thing with like I don't think I learned anything from Stephen A. Smith. Like with Shannon Sharp, he goes crazy, but Shannon Sharp is teaching me football. He'll tell me about like what the tight end routes or whatever it is, and he'll tell you about what players going through. Stephen A. Smith has no redeeming value whatsoever. But to your point, I think Gilbert Arenas, besides entertainment, Gilbert Arenas is entertaining a little bit, but he's more so, he'll drop those jewels. He'll bring on.
That's what I said. He's insightful. He know the shit,
Right.
but
When
he
was
just
it?
rather be a clown than